So here we are with the most remarkable woman, and she is the founder of the Woman Up movement, amongst many other remarkable and most amazing things. We're here with Debra Trappen. Debra, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, my pleasure.
So for those of us who haven't really met you before, can you give us a bit of your background and a bit of your story?
You bet. So I want to make sure that we're really clear. I work with the founders of the Woman Up movement.
You work with the founders, great.
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
I wouldn't say I'm a founder, I'm a founding member.
Founding member,
Yes.
love it.
So I work with them. I've been in the real estate space since 2002. Actually had relocated with my husband to the Pacific Northwest and fell in love with the real estate transaction. I was like, this is really fun. I think I should try this. Like most, right? It's either you have a bad experience or a great experience. Yeah. Thankfully, we had the great one. And honestly, in my first day of classes, I knew that I wasn't going to stay in sales. I knew that I wanted to try it and experience it, but my passion really is mentoring and training and empowering others to be their best self. So the first 5 or 6 years of my career I sold, and then I moved into corporate, and I headed the recruiting, retention, training, and at that point, the brand new thing called social media for my brokerage, and that was such a blast being part of that.
Oh, wonderful. So I also know that you're this huge, well, you travel the world really speaking and inspiring others, as you say, to help work on their businesses. But you also talk about this thing called finding your moxie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so what is a moxie? How do we get it and how do we find it?
Well, you know, when I looked at how I wanted to package, if you will, how I connect with others and really what I know I'm meant to do on this planet, it's really to fire people up from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And I looked at all of these great words, and then I looked at the industry and thought, moxie's such a fun word. It's one of those words that connects with so many different generations, just as real estate is. And I think we all kind of lean in a little bit and say, what is moxie? And so when I opened my practice, the concept was, yes, I want to talk about business, but I really want to talk about you as the human. I want to talk about what your core values are. How are you living aligned to those, and where do you maybe need to shift and pivot a little bit so that the decisions that you're making on a daily basis, whether it's a client or a volunteer opportunity, they feel good and they fill up what I call your soul tank.
Yeah.
And so we have the core values piece, we have the soul tank piece, which is doing things that you love with people you love, serving those you love. And then I move into helping people find their purpose. And that is one of the most interesting conversations with others, because they think it's this huge Zen moment, right? Like they're gonna have to go on a vision quest.
Yeah. When
really we're living it every day.
Yeah.
Right? We're living our purpose. And so once I get those three areas together, then it really just depends on what that person or the audience or the company wants to focus on. Do they want to help their agents become better networkers? Do they want to help them set better goals? And all of those areas really fall in line with those first three. So if they can leverage who they are in building their business, it's great. So once they decide that, then the moxie part is what kicks in, right? And then the part of the kind of the follow-up process is, how do you build habits to support what you've just decided you want to create?
So
how do you hone and really wrangle your self-talk, right? Because we know that 80% of our self-talk is repetitive and almost 90% can be negative. And so I have this great program that helps people write their custom affirmations so that they're speaking to that person who is the best version of themselves, right?
Well, I absolutely love what you've said there, and I think one of the big it words right now is all about hustle, and grinding. And you know, I'm probably a bit like you. I just saw that face you pulled, but it's not about hustling. It's not about grinding. It's actually about creating habits that build a beautiful life and a life full of purpose. So, if somebody's sort of struggling, in life to find this, how do you help them kind of delve into who they are as an individual and actually pull this out of themselves?
Right. Well, I have a really fun little exercise that I do when people come to me and they feel that they're overwhelmed because of the hustle and hurry. And that is, we pull out their calendar and then we pull out their list of core values. And we look at each one of the appointments and the clients that are on for the next couple of weeks, and we start deleting. And it's really interesting. They're very nervous at first. They're like, oh, but I said yes to that event. I can't say no now. And I always say, it's more selfish to keep an appointment than to release it if you're really not passionate about it, because there's someone else who's waiting for that to be their best yes.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in it, but you're sitting in it in this sad, kind of overwhelmed space. And so I truly believe that once we create margin for what matters, that hustle starts to fall to the side. We experience what living our best life means. And you hear things like, I want to live out loud, I want to live on purpose, I want to live on my own terms. Well, that requires margin to actually discover who you are. So it is one of the most remarkable journeys that I take with people. It's so much fun.
I love that. So I think that that's super powerful. And there's something that you mentioned there, build your best life.
Yes.
And that's actually my hashtag. So that's what I'm really well known for.
Yay!
So I'm just loving this conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important, so powerful. And I think it doesn't matter where you are in the world. There are so many people who are feeling like this because within the real estate industry, we work a lot and we've been trained to work a lot.
Yeah.
And so when you're mentioning there about removing items from your calendar and people really having resistance to that, I mean, it's very, very difficult for people to let go. So how do you really, help change that mentality of the working all the time in the 7 days?
Yes.
In addition to what you just mentioned there, to really, fundamentally, not just say no to that appointment, but to put themselves first.
Right.
And so that way they're mentally clear to free themselves up to do their best deals and their best work within the industry.
Right. So there's something it's around the universe called FOMO, right? It's a huge hashtag, right? So those of you who don't know it, it means fear of missing out. And so I really speak to that. And I speak to the fact that the fear of missing out really is related to the fact of not actually knowing who your niche is, not knowing really what business you want, and that's why you fear missing out. Because you fear like if you don't attend that event, you're going to miss meeting a client. But how the process that I take people through, it helps them understand that if they value efficiency, if they value mastery, then them going to a 101 sales class is not for them.
Yeah.
Right? So they can say no, and if other people are there, great. But they're not going to miss out on their ultimate connections at that event. Same for adventure or any of the other fantastic core value words. They can start to see their events. And so it flips the FOMO into JOMO, the joy of missing out.
I love that.
Where once they say no, they're like, oh, I know it's going to be so amazing because I've, again, just created some margin. Yeah. And what I think we all know that, or we've all heard about manifesting, right? Manifesting the greatness to come towards us. And I think that when you are in that hustled and hurried space and you are FOMO and you are asking to be part of everything, you have no energy left to attract that those beautiful opportunities that you're seeking.
Yeah.
It's so, and I really believe this, that once you experience it, once you experience that joy of missing out, you realize you'll survive.
Yeah. I love that. You'll survive. You'll survive. So let's get on to this Woman Up kind of movement that's been ongoing and kind of happening. So tell me why this is important to you.
So the Woman Up movement is actually a CAR, so a California Association of Realtors initiative. And what is so important about it is that it really is about helping women who are broker owners or executive leaders find their tribe of other women who are doing that. But it also serves a second group, which is the women who are thinking, is that for me?
Yeah.
Like, is that for me? What does it look like? And so we get them mentored. But most importantly, it includes a third group, which is everyone who wants to support these two groups of women. And I've such a passion for setting the example of what a table with equal feminine and masculine energy looks like.
So important, so powerful.
It's so important and it's so powerful. And we have, I mean, I understand when a table is full, it's hard to be the one that pulls your table back and says, here's a chair for you, right? And so we're really building a new table to show an example of what it's like when we all support each other.
And be collaborative.
Yes, and it's such a beautiful experience when we have our conferences, even when we do our Facebook Lives, the conversations that happen underneath, the questions from both women and men. And it's this whole space of empowering women, from a child, it's who I was and who I am today. It's part of my intrinsic purpose. And so the marriage of the two, my purpose and their vision, has been explosive.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I must admit, I went to my first Woman Up event the other night.
Yes.
And what was so remarkable about it and so powerful was the fact that there were so many men in the room. So
Yes.
I think that was, because we need the men in the room to really understand a woman's point of view,
Yes.
because for a long time we've been silent on the sides.
Yeah.
And, you know, the men who were there were really strong, very influential men. And these are the guys who are totally getting it and help to really push women
Yes.
up
Yep.
and support women. So
Yep.
it was
They're at those tables. So they are there and they can help get us there into those conversations. And that is so epically important. And that's part of what Woman Up embraces. It's not an us versus them.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful for that.
That's lovely. Well, listen, I wanted to ask you some crazy rapid fire questions.
All right.
And we are at a tech conference, so let's hit it. So strap on your seatbelts.
All right.
Let's get ready for it. So tell me, structure or chaos?
Structure or chaos? Chaos.
Love it. What's your favorite Instagram filter?
Nashville, I think.
Nashville.
Yes.
Nashville. What do you swipe up on?
One more time?
What do you swipe up on?
Ooh. Not much.
Not much?
Not much, honestly.
When you're swiping through your stories, is there something that intrigues you and captures your eye?
I love the behind-the-scenes videos
Yes.
as opposed to the straight photos.
Yeah.
So if somebody's doing something and it's moving, then I'll stop.
Okay, so it's more that raw, authentic as opposed to the polish, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What's your favourite time-wasting app?
Usually wake up at about 7:11 every day. I lay in bed for about an hour and do my morning rituals and then kind of get into meditation.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Apple or Windows?
Oh, Apple. Even though I live in Microsoft territory.
And tell me, what's the tech gadget that totally rocked your world?
Wow, I mean, now or then?
Now.
I mean, wow, that's a great question. I mean, I've been so attached to my iPhone for so long, I don't really know if I have a second. It's like my baby.
Yeah. And what was the last thing that you Googled?
The last thing that I Googled. Probably the restaurant I ate at last night.
Okay, what was that? Let's give it a shout out.
It was a cute steakhouse called Bobby's something or other.
Love it.
Thank God I have Google.
There's like Tony's, there's all these great
Yeah,
American ones in
Tony's
this
and
little
Bobby's
strip.
and yeah, exactly.
What's your favourite emoji?
Ooh, fire.
Fire. Oh, the fire. Okay, cool. And your guilty follow. Who's somebody that you follow from outside the industry who you love following?
Probably Jen Hatmaker.
And what does she do?
She is a speaker inside the circuit that she's a cross between Christian and sass. She's also a moxie gal.
Ah, okay, I love it. Well, Debra, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.